What I wanted to talk about is holistic health secrets. I've been in the context of giving nutritional, or actually what we train people on here is to become holistic health coaches, really taking a wide view, looking at the whole of people as well as their nutrition. And I started studying health, Oriental medicine, and in particular macrobiotics and shiatsu just over 40 years ago. Seems like a long time now. And it feels like I've learned quite a bit during that time. I've done a lot of teaching. I've trained a lot of shiatsu practitioners and a lot of health coaches and health consultants, and seen an awful lot of clients. So basically what I want to do is give you the essence of what I've learned during those 40 years. I've really been privileged to teach and see a lot of people, and for people to tell me a lot about their lives, what's happening physically and also emotionally, sometimes spiritually, and to including where people are struggling, having difficulties with illness or in other ways. And it is a real privilege to be able to help people from that place. And we wanted to, somebody needs muting there, I'm not sure who. So wanted to talk about unlocking vitality, and you could say health. We all want lots of vitality. The more vitality we have, the more interesting life is. My belief is that we're actually here to learn and to grow in this lifetime. And in order to learn and grow, we need experiences, and fun experiences, nice experiences, loving experiences, and also difficult experiences. And it's through these experiences that we can reflect on ourselves and life and grow through them. And in this process, it's very helpful to have some guidance at times. We can learn tools to help ourselves, but it's very useful to have guidance from others, which I personally really enjoy doing, and I also really enjoy training others to give that kind of guidance. If I'm going to take everything down to kind of 50 minutes of what I think is most important in healing and health and in health coaching, these are the points that I want to make. The first is that we really need to be holistic in our approach. And what that means is understanding the whole of us. We have a physical body that's nourished with food and breathing and exercise and movement. We have an energetic body that is helping that physical body to move. We also have an emotional body, and emotions are a large part of us, and we need to understand how to be healthy emotionally, how to heal past emotions, and come into a healthy place. We also, part of health is also relationship with others. We need relationship with social animals. We need to learn how to relate deeply, intimately, lovingly, in order to really nourish ourselves. Mentally, what we believe in, our understanding of life is important, and this is something we can be learning more about through our whole life. And we also have a spiritual side, and our connection to spirit, or to our spiritual side, many different ways of looking at that, is very important for our health, for our emotional well-being, and also for our physical bodies as well. When we have a spiritual connection with what's above or what's around us, that's another source of energy which gives us vitality. And all of these different aspects of us, they're not separate as has often been treated in a more Western scientific way of looking at things, where you have people who treat the body, people who treat the emotions, people who work with spirit. These are all connected. Our physical body affects our emotions. Our connection with spirit affects our physical body. Our connection with other people affects our physical body and our emotions. They're all so connected. So if we really want to understand life and ourselves and other people, we need to study those four major aspects of ourselves and of people. That's in helping ourselves and also in helping other people. 40 years ago, I started studying particularly Oriental medicine, and in particular a teaching called Macrobiotics, which is a more kind of recent evolution of the Oriental medicine and advice on healthy living, which came about in the 20th century and then came to the West, with a strong emphasis on helping people learn ways of helping themselves and being self-reliant in their healthcare, which I really, really like, because what I've observed over 40 years is that we can all become much more self-reliant in looking after our health, which is very empowering. So on our training courses, we're looking at these four different aspects so that we can help people's physical health. We can help people to some extent with their emotional healing. We can help people with their food, their exercise. We can educate people with good knowledge and ideas, and also help people to tap into their spiritual connection. I say that, you could also say here, spirit is in us and outside of us, but that's an important part of us to tap into as well. So if we want a good understanding of ourselves and other people, we need to take a holistic view. Second point I want to make is that I'm convinced from the last 40 years of helping a lot of people that 95% of illness is caused by what we do in our daily life. It's caused by what we eat, what we do, we overwork, we lack exercise, we struggle emotionally. It's really 95% of illness is what we're doing. A very small percentage is genetical, is inevitable from our genes, but much smaller than Western medicine is currently saying. There are infections and so on, and we're right in the middle of an infectious illness, which I'll maybe talk a little bit more about in a minute. So there are some outside influences, but really, I'm convinced our health is really primarily in our own hands, which is really, really, really good news. Because in Western culture, not in traditional cultures, which have often been much more empowered around and have an understanding how food and emotions, etc., have an effect on our health. In modern Western culture, there's been this split between our daily life and illness. And only really in the last 10 or 15 years is this connection kind of coming together again. So I remember when I started studying in the 1980s, doctors, the medical profession was saying, food has nothing to do with health. You have a heart problem, you have diabetes, your food has nothing to do with these problems at all. Your lifestyle has nothing to do with it. And then gradually, Western medicine has been kind of catching up with what macrobiotics, Oriental medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, many traditional medicines have known for thousands of years, that our daily food and activity and way of life and relationships have an enormous effect on our health. So thank goodness it's really beginning to change now. I just got a kind of I get medical briefings. So I got one from a British kind of National Health Service, and saying that still in the West, 1 in 4 people die from heart and circulatory problems. And it's suggesting that people making changes in their diet and lifestyle that could reduce this by between 4 and 8 times. Amazing, amazing that Western medicine is really beginning to realize, you know, these major degenerative illnesses are primarily caused by diet and lifestyle. Also, you know, the case with type 2 diabetes, because that is, you know, 100 years ago, type 2 diabetes, rare illness, in the UK now, about 3.5 million people out of 65 million. So what is that in percentage terms? Anybody can do maths quickly? So that's like 6-7% of the population has type 2 diabetes. And this is taking about 1/5 of the UK government's health budget now to deal with this one problem. And the number of people with it is increasing. Another 10 years, it could be another million. So this is really forcing Western medicine to look into the causes of illness, which they've been poor at. And they've looked into type 2 diabetes, and they realize it's primarily a diet and lifestyle caused illness. Eating high sugar, high simple carbohydrate, high fat diets, lacking exercise, poor nutrients, you know, etc. And so they're even beginning to realize something that you know, many people have realized for a while, that especially at the beginning stages of type 2 diabetes, it's usually possible to reverse it by exercise and eating more complex carbohydrates and more of a whole food diet, cutting out all the processed foods. So the good news is our health is mostly in our own hands. If we're happy to take that responsibility and to study and learn the effects of different foods and exercises, etc., on our health, which is what what the International Macrobiotic School and all of our courses are very much about. So next thing I want to say is that the basics of life and living are the most important ways of having vitality and health. Perhaps I need to say this because there are many kind of wonder cures out there, many kind of magic pills and potions and things, which may give a little bit of support. But we have to remember that supplements are to supplement a healthy diet and lifestyle. They're not a replacement for a healthy diet and lifestyle. So while supplements may be useful at certain times for certain people, they're not a kind of panacea. Really, the basics of health are how we live every day. And so I want to run through, you know, some of the basics of health. And I'm going to start off with breathing. It may sound very strange to say that we need to learn to breathe, but breathing is how we breathe. You know, there's different ways of breathing. There's not just, okay, well, I'm breathing, that's how I'm alive. Our breath is a very powerful tool in creating health. And one of the, so just want to introduce to one, basic idea, which is that we need to breathe not only with our chests, but also with our abdomens. Because when we breathe deeply, we know that our lungs are expanding, but our lungs end here, and we have a diaphragm muscle, which going from the front to the back, which separates the chest from the abdomen. And this, when we breathe deeply, our diaphragm needs to drop down so that we're moving our abdomen as well. And this allows us to breathe much more deeply. This means we get more oxygen and more energy into the body, because in the Oriental and energetic understanding is we're not just breathing in oxygen, we're also breathing in chi or ki, which is why breathing deeply is very important for our health. Also, when we bring our breath down to our abdomen, this roots us in our body, because our abdomen is the center of our body. If we're only breathing up in this part of the body, then we have more energy and activity in the top of our body. Our heads may be overactive. We may think a lot. We may have sleep problems because we can't root ourselves in our body. Also, we detach from our gut feelings. And our gut, we think with our heads, we feel with our hearts, and we also have gut feelings. And our gut feelings are where we just instantly feel, I need to do this, I want to do this, I'm not going to do that. It's a way that our gut feelings are an important guide in life. And also they're a way of protecting ourselves, spotting danger. Okay, I need to get out of here, I need to change this. Also, I feel that being rooted in our body is one of the ways that gives us emotional and mental stability. So it looks like you come from quite a few different countries. I know in the UK, there's a lot of concern with rising levels of mental illness in adults and especially in children. And I think one of the reasons for this, partly dietary, partly maybe a lot of social media, which also brings people up into their heads and out of their bodies. And also that people are not centered in this part of the body. When we're centered here, we feel much more self-confidence, we feel grounded, we feel in touch with reality, rather than having all kinds of fantasies about how people don't like us, or delusions about life, etc. So why don't we do some abdominal breathing? So I'm not quite sure what view you've got right now, but I'm going to pin myself. So let's put a hand on our chest, hand on our tummy. And I'm going to demonstrate first. So let's breathe just with our abdomens. So as you breathe in, imagine your breath coming down here and filling up your tummy. Like this. So you're blowing up your tummy like a balloon. And then you gently squeeze your abdominal muscles to breathe out. Yeah, so would you all like to try that? If you watch babies breathe, this is how they breathe all the time. You can breathe through your nose or through your mouth. And every time you breathe in, imagine your breath coming down from your head through your chest, down into your abdomen. And it's almost as if you're dropping your awareness down here as well. Take a few more breaths, and while you do that, check out how are you feeling right now while you're doing this abdominal breathing. Okay. And then to finish off with, we're going to take a few full breaths. So breathe into your abdomen and then your chest. So you expand your abdomen and then your chest. And relax to breathe out. Breathe into your abdomen and chest. And relax. And do a few more of those. And then you can relax, just check out how you're feeling. Often how people feel after doing that is calmer, more in themselves, less active minds, maybe more energy. Also, this is very good for lifting depression. In the UK, young people, the main two so-called mental illness problems are anxiety and depression. And breathing deeply, which gets more energy, oxygen and qi into the body, is very good at counteracting depression. So some studies in America found that doing aerobic exercise, including breathing deeply for 30 minutes a day, was more effective with mild to moderate depression than the most commonly used antidepressants. We just did this a couple of minutes. If you want to explore it, try breathing like this for 5–10 minutes. It can have a stronger and stronger effect. And if you find it difficult to breathe with your abdomen, then train yourself. This is an absolute basic to health, to be able to breathe with your abdomen. Breathing deeply, you massage your digestive organs, you're helping bring lymph and blood back to the heart. It's doing many things. Yeah, so that's one of the basics, breathing well. Another one is exercise. Our bodies are built for doing a lot, for being active. And unless we're very depleted, in which case we need to maybe go the other way, more towards rest. Most of us can be, it's important to take a good amount of exercise. This may be partly in our daily life. We may be walking to work, walking to shop, sweeping the house, cleaning, gardening, etc., which is great. Also good, I think, to be doing some kind of system of exercise, whether that's yoga, tai chi, qigong, Daoyin exercise, or whatever, because those exercise regimes, they're exercising the whole body, all the different muscles, all the different parts of the body. Even if it's just 20 minutes a day, 15–20 minutes a day, that's really beneficial. I've been doing that well, intermittently for the last 40 years, I have to admit, but the last couple of years I've found that really makes such a big difference, maybe because I'm getting older, so naturally my energy is beginning to decline a little bit, and all the stresses of life, and I just find it just great to do a daily 20–30 minutes. So I really recommend you find some kind of program that you enjoy. Important, if we're in touch with our bodies, this is part of the reason for getting into our bodies. If we're in touch with our bodies, then like a cat getting up after a sleep, we want to stretch and we want to move, and we, it's pleasurable to move our bodies when we're in our bodies and in touch with our bodies. Then another big way, another big basic of life is our food. We're eating all the time. And food has such a big effect on our health. It's really a primary healing tool to an amazing degree. So why not learn how to use food to heal ourselves? And this is not just if we have a health problem, then we need to eat more healthily. This is a way that we maintain our health day to day. And we could look at food in two ways. So we could look at it, what is a generally healthy diet, and kind of eat a generally healthy diet, and that's going to create an improvement in health. And then we could also learn really in depth to understand a lot of nuances about how different foods affect different organs. And so, and to recognize when we're becoming imbalanced, when we're becoming more exhausted, when we're becoming too tense, when our digestion's not working so well, or our breathing is not so good, and then how we can adjust our foods to help particular imbalances or kind of weaknesses in the body. Personally, I feel that's much more fun. That's what I really enjoy. But if we talk about generally what is a healthy diet, again, I almost have to kind of laugh about the changes that have happened in kind of public opinion and scientific opinion over the last 40 years. 40 years ago, we were being advised in modern Western culture that yes, we needed to eat meat because meat gives us energy and strength. We need to eat dairy foods because they contain lots of calcium. Fine to eat sugar. There's really no difference between eating simple carbohydrates like sugars and complex carbohydrates. Really, Western nutrition is so young, and it has some really good information, but we have to realize Western nutrition is a very young art, and it is still on a steep learning curve. And even in the last 5 years, it has made big changes in its opinions on what is a healthy diet. So to give you one example, the NHS, excuse my lack of coolness, I'm still holding up pieces of paper. 5 years ago, this is what the British NHS was advising we eat. So about 1/3 vegetables and fruit, very good. Agree with that. 1/3 complex carbohydrates from grains and starchy vegetables, etc. Very good. Have to eat some dairy. You have to eat some dairy for our health. What is this? Like 1/6? 1/6 of our diet should be dairy because we need it for calcium. About 1/6 is higher protein foods, meat, fish, eggs, beans get a mention. Yep, we need our meat, etc. And then this, what's this 5th section here? As on the Eat Well plate, this 5th section is foods and drinks high in fat and or sugar. Cakes, biscuits, kind of not such healthy foods were included in the Eat Well plate. Then about 4 years ago, they revised that and they came up with this. So fantastic. Vegetables and fruits have got a bit bigger. Complex carbohydrates, grains have got a bit bigger. That big dairy section has now become dairy or alternatives. So there's a lot of alternatives to eating dairy around there. Not all healthy, but there are plant milks, for example, plant spreads, etc. So they're saying you could eat some dairy, or you could substitute your dairy with more plant-based foods. So this is really becoming a plant-based diet, isn't it? You might have heard that term, plant-based. And then here's the kind of higher protein section, which now says, so look at the picture. It's got tins of beans, and it's saying beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, and other proteins. Eat more beans and pulses. 2 portions of sustainable fish a week, and eat less meat and processed meat. So actually, it's saying only part of this might be animal food. Mostly eat beans and pulses and some fish. And then this 5th section is healthy oils. And then those high fat, high sugar foods have gone outside the circle of the Eat Well guide, which is where they should be. And they're very keen on us eating less sugar and less processed fats, etc. So this is really getting pretty good now. You know, if everybody in the modern world ate this, this diet, so this is a real consensus in modern nutrition, the rates of heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, many different health problems would greatly reduce. Dementia is now being increasingly seen as well as largely a diet and lifestyle caused illness. If we want to protect it's all about protecting our brain. And to protect our brain, actually, we can do a lot of similar things to protecting our heart. That is eating a much lower fat diet and a more plant-based diet, and really reducing processed foods. Everything that's good for the heart is also good for looking after the brain, because it depends on a good blood flow and a good circulation, which is coming from the heart. So this is getting pretty good now. In this scheme, one could include a bit more animal food, or one could make it much more plant-based or even vegan, if one wanted to. So wow, that's a big change over the last 30 or 40 years. So if one wants to really eat a generally healthier diet, then this kind of plan is a good one. I think it's good to include some other things as well. Some seeds, very rich in natural oils and zinc and various nutrients. A few nuts. Sea vegetables are also very useful. So sea vegetables, traditionally eaten around the world in coastal areas. They're just growing on the beach. If you can eat them, then you might as well go and pick them and eat them. These days you can buy them dried: kelp, wakame, dulse, things like that. You don't have to use a lot. The value of seaweeds is that they're very high in minerals, 10-20 times higher in minerals than land vegetables. So by just adding small amounts to soups and stews and other dishes, or using nori to make sushi, we're really upping our mineral intake a lot. Yeah, so general healthy diets, this is the consensus. American Heart Foundation, World Health Organization, they're all saying the same thing. And this is a big change from typical Western diet, which contained quite a lot of meat, dairy foods, eating a lot, these formed a much larger part of the diet. So a lot of people are a bit shocked by that. It's quite a change from the diet I grew up on: quite a lot of meat, a lot of dairy foods. Then, what I find even more kind of exciting and interesting, and in some sense fun, is to understand how particular foods and also particular cooking styles impact different organs and parts of the body. So if we're getting particular problems, if we're getting sinus problems, for example, or lung problems, or eye problems, or ear problems, we can work out what's the imbalance happening in the body, and what can we specifically do to help that problem with our food and how we cook it. And this is what Oriental Medicine and Macrobiotics and the holistic health coaching that we're teaching contains. It's this much detail. I just want to say a little bit more about the cooking, because Western approach to food is looking at the nutrients in food, which is valuable, but it doesn't tell the whole story. It's useful to have that Western scientific approach, and then it's also useful to have a more traditional Oriental approach, which looks at different qualities of food. For example, take a carrot. hopefully an organic carrot because they're much more tasty. I'm not a religious organic eater, but certain organic foods are much more tasty and have more life energy in. So take a good carrot, grate it finely, and you might eat that as a salad. You might put a bit of dressing on it and eat it as a salad. That's going to have how's that going to feel? That's actually going to cool us down a little bit. It's going to feel refreshing. It's nice on a hot summer's day. And in terms of organs, that's particularly going to help the liver. The liver likes light, fresh foods. It helps the liver to function, helps the liver to clear itself. Or what we could do is take that carrot and cut it into big chunks and maybe roast it in the oven. So we're cooking it a long time. The carrots become really sweet. Then when we eat those carrots, they're going to have a warming effect on the body. So the opposite. So for someone who is feeling weak, devitalized, gets cold, feels cold, poor circulation, feels cold in the winter, rather than having raw carrot, it'd be much better to have the roasted carrots, because this is going to have a warming effect. Also, the sweetness of the carrot is then going to nourish particularly the pancreas and the stomach and the spleen in Oriental medicine, because we need to nourish all of our organs. So that sweet flavor from the carbohydrates being slightly broken down then feels nourishing. Sometimes we crave the sweet flavor because we feel we need that kind of nourishment, and that sweet flavor is helping nourish particularly the pancreas and the stomach and the spleen. So by cooking the food in a different way, preparing it in a different way, we're changing the balance in the body and helping different organs. And we could go into, there's also, if we prepare the carrots in a more dry way, like stir frying, particularly helps the lungs. If we pickle them in salt or miso to get more salt into them, it's going to help strengthen the kidneys. So we can do all kinds of things with a carrot to have an effect on different parts of the body. So you imagine with a range of different whole foods, how we can make different recipes to help different organs to increase our health. But also if we have imbalances, if we have weak lungs, if we have a congested liver, digestive problems, etc., we can choose particular foods and cooking styles to help our condition. The central idea in Oriental medicine, which is different to the West, is that for health, we need to learn balance. So the best image, I think, is of riding a bicycle. How do we stay on a bicycle moving forward in our life and with our health? We do it by moving a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, and then a little bit to the left, and then a little bit to the right. And that way we stay in balance and we keep moving forward. And that's exactly what we need to do with our health. We need to recognize when imbalances are coming up. We're feeling overly hot, we're feeling overly cold, we're feeling exhausted, we're feeling very uptight, or we're getting we're getting headaches, we're getting period pains, we're getting a whole range of different symptoms. These are indications that we're getting a little bit out of balance. And these kind of minor things are not just to be dismissed or take a painkiller. These are really important clues as to the imbalances that are coming up in our body because of our food, because of what's happening in our life. Sometimes we're very busy, sometimes there's more pressure. All kinds of things are happening in our life. Sometimes we're doing too much exercise, sometimes we're doing not enough. And then we have to rebalance. And this is really key to health, is this continual rebalancing. In some ways, I really wish there was one simple formula with food and a few other things for staying in good health. Definitely, if we eat a plant-based diet, we exercise every day, we pay attention to our emotions, we develop healthy, loving relationships, this really, really helps our health. But if we really want to stay in good health, we need to adopt this idea of recognizing our imbalances and then correcting them so that we stay in balance and we keep moving forwards. If we don't, then what happens? We fall off the bike, we stop moving forwards, we hurt ourselves, we become ill, physically, emotionally, whatever. And then we have to spend time healing ourselves before we can get back on the bike and start moving forwards in our life again. And yeah, so for me, that's a good analogy. In the West, we tend to use good and bad. So, if fruit juice is good, then then the more we have, the better. Or if fruit is a healthy food, then the more fruit we eat, the better. But it's not true. It's a matter of balance. Fruit generally is a little sweet. If we eat a lot of fruit, we're getting a big hit of sugars. Also, fruit in general are more watery and more cooling on the body. So for someone who has water problems or feels too cold and empty energetically, eating a lot of fruit will make them worse. Someone who's very hot and uptight, then eating a lot of fruit could be really, really useful. So fruit is neither good nor bad. It's a matter of what a person needs at a particular time, if you see what I mean. The only problem is that's a bit more complicated. First stage is just to generally eat a more healthy diet, exercise, etc. And then if you want to take it to another level, it means learning. It means learning more about the signs of how we're imbalanced, which organs are imbalanced, and how to rebalance. Personally, for myself and my family, I find that very empowering to learn that, to learn that more in-depth way of looking after our health. It's just so fantastic. It's inevitable we're going to develop a few minor health problems sometimes. It's just great to know how we can help ourselves with those, rather than turning to a medication or something that does it for us, but actually is often suppressing symptoms and may even be making us more ill in the long term. So that's quite a bit about food, which forms a really central part of our holistic health coaching training, because it has such a big effect. But there's other aspects of ourselves. Our emotional self is pretty big, wouldn't you say? I'm just going to go back to gallery view so I can enjoy seeing more of you. Our emotional life has a very big effect on us. Our emotions get up and down, and fear, anger, frustration, sadness, loneliness. And our emotions are in our body. And so they're having an effect on our body. If we start worrying, our stomach tenses up. If we're feeling lonely, that has an effect on the heart. It suppresses the heart's action. It might suppress our breathing as well. If we're feeling angry, then we're often holding a lot of tension in our liver and gallbladder. And that tension can then go other places in the body, up to the head to cause headaches, into the stomach, having a negative effect on our digestion, or down to the reproductive organs and genitals and create symptoms there, etc. So our emotions have a big effect on the body. And the general state we find ourselves in as adults of any age is that over our lifetime, any emotions that we haven't really fully expressed are still trapped in our bodies. If we were bullied at school, and we just went to school with so much fear every day, if we haven't had a chance to really talk about that and release that, we're still holding it in the body. It's still causing contraction and blockage in the body. If there was a lot of anger in our household when we were growing up or later on in life, that may have created a lot of tension in us, and that tension may still be there. It may still be in our jaws, may be grinding our teeth, we may suffer from a lot of neck and shoulder tension, a lot of diaphragm tension, etc., etc. And particular emotions, again, in Oriental medicine, affect particular organs. Loneliness affects the lungs. Lack of love affects the heart. A lot of frustration, anger affects the liver. A lot of fear, anxiety saps the kidney, adrenal energy. If we grow up with a lack of self-worth because we weren't treated as if we were of great worth as a child and later on in life, and we have that internal belief that we're of no worth, then the tendency is not to nourish ourselves. We may become a nourishing other people holic, where we're looking after other people all the time, but we forget to nourish ourselves. And this particularly has a negative impact on our nourishing organs, the stomach and the pancreas. So I didn't. I was very closed down emotionally because of a lot of anger and emotional closed downness in my family, and it wasn't till my life really, till I really hit a very, very low place emotionally when in my early 30s that I eventually got that I need to do emotional work, and then found, oh wow, there's a very big can of worms here that needs to be looked at and gradually unraveled. So this is a part of our healing. Then other aspects of our life. One is love. Love is food for our body and our hearts and our soul. In the same way, in much the same way that air and our physical food is. Lots of scientific evidence now that if people are very alone and unloved, they die 5, maybe even 8, 10 years younger. We need love from other people. Love is the nature of the universe. It's actually everywhere, and we particularly get it through people and pets and things we love. And we need to really open ourselves to love. We need to open our hearts so that we can receive love and give love, and also, for some reason, kind of bizarrely, the most difficult thing, to love ourselves. We need to learn to love ourselves, because if we're closed to loving ourselves, then this part of our body is tight and closed. We need to learn to open our hearts, feel loving connections with other people, with nature, etc., and also feel love for ourselves. So it's I teach and guide a lot of adults, and it often seems quite funny to me that actually we're still learning about a lot of the basics of life. How do we create loving relationships? Has anybody mastered completely how to have a loving relationship? I think we're all working on that one. Yeah. And then I want to say something about our spiritual connection, because you may have there's different ways of looking at spirit. There are different religions, there's different spiritual paths. So in essence, we need to respect them all, and in essence they're all saying the same thing, that actually we've come from spirit and we're part of spirit. And when we can really feel that, we get energy into the body. So there's different foods. There's physical food, which is what Western science focuses on. And then there's breath, and there's emotional energy. And then we pick up energy from our environment. And there's spiritual energy. When we're connected with our spirits, this increases our vitality and energy. I remember a few years ago in the UK, when we have a memorial, we have Poppy Day to remember people killed in the 2 world wars. There were the last two, I think they were the last 2 people that fought in the First World War. And I think one was, I don't know, what were they? The one was 108 or something, and the other was into their hundreds as well. And they were in wheelchairs, and they were kind of all curled up because their life energy was low. But amazing that they were still here, And what they said was, they felt it was so important for them to give the message of, how much suffering there was in the First World War. And that's why, they felt it very important that they could keep giving that message to the world. And that was what was keeping them alive. Without that, their bodies probably would have given up some time before. But because they had that spiritual purpose, that gave them life energy, which kept them going. So we all need to tap into that kind of deeper level of being and life energy that comes from contacting, our soul, our spirit, our inner self. It brings through vitality, and also it's our guide in life. Actually, what are the most important things for us to do in our life? Especially, there's so many distractions in life. And it's easy to get caught up with thinking we have to buy lots of things and do lots of things. But actually, we also need to reflect deeply, actually, what are the most important things I want to do in this lifetime, or this year, or this week, or today? If I really had free choice, what feels most important to do today? This is a really good thing to do every day, to check in. And then also be prepared for change in your life, because it's dangerous to tap into your spirit and your inner self, because it may say, actually, I've had enough of doing what you're doing at the moment. I want to move somewhere else, or I want to change my work, or I want to be with different people, or I need to go somewhere and study something. And because this is important to my journey in this lifetime and my learning in this lifetime. If we really want to be alive, we also have to be prepared to take risks and make changes in our life. So this is, I think this is, for me, this is a basic truth in life. If we feel that we just want to keep everything the same in our life for years and years and years, same relationship, same work, same everything same, that will make us ill. Because nature is changing all the time. You just have to look out the window and you just see nature, everything is always changing. And we need to always be changing as well. And so one cause of illness and unhappiness is trying to stay the same, which might make us feel comfortable and secure, but in the end will decrease our vitality and at some point will manifest as physical or emotional illness. Then I'm going to just mention one more thing which I think is really key to health and well-being, and that is various methods of Oriental diagnosis. In the West, we're used to having methods of assessing our health, such as blood tests and X-rays and now MRI scans, etc., all of which can be very useful at certain times. In the Orient, they didn't have this. They developed their understanding in a different way. And they developed dozens of different methods of understanding what's happening inside the body by looking at on the outside. So we're born with a certain skin color, but it can change according to our health. It may become darker, lighter, more yellow, more red, more pale. And that's all indicating imbalances in different organs in the body. Different regions of the face reflect different organs in the body. If we're in good health, then our face is fairly even in coloring with what's happening. If we develop a lot of darkness around our eyes, this is showing that our kidneys and adrenal glands have become exhausted. If we have a lot of redness and swelling in our nose, this shows that our heart and circulatory system is out of balance. If we have a lot of extra flesh and deep lines between our eyebrows, this area relates to the liver. It shows the liver's congested and is not working well. And we need to do some cleansing to help clear that from the liver. Our lips reflect a lot the digestive system. Often we see the lower lip is very expanded, showing that our intestines have also become swollen and may not be working well. If we've got tight corners of the mouth, it shows there's a lot of tension just at the base of the stomach and in the duodenum. So then we can look at people's posture, how they move, the voice quality, various methods of touch diagnosis, feeling the organs in the abdomen, feeling the meridians, which are used in acupuncture and shiatsu and acupressure. Also what people tell us about how they feel at different times of day, how they feel in different seasons, different weathers. If someone says, well, I don't sweat during the day, but I'm sweating a lot at night, in Oriental medicine, that's a kidney imbalance. If you're sweating a lot during the day, that's more of a heart and circulation imbalance. So Oriental medicine's kind of really worked out things in a lot of detail to understand a lot of different methods of Oriental diagnosis to really understand what's happening with our health. So this is so useful when we're riding our bike. We're getting a few signs, we've gone a little bit too much to the left, and we can spot those signs using Oriental diagnosis. And then it also tells us what do we need to do to come back to the middle. So Oriental diagnosis, very, very useful, which we're teaching on most of our courses. Okay, so I had a few more just in case, but I need to finish soon. So those are some of what I feel are the most important ways of us looking after our health. So I hope that has been useful to you. I want to say, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about our courses for a couple of minutes. Charlene is going to talk about her experiences of studying here, and then there's going to be some time for questions and answers for 15-20 minutes or whatever's needed. So very, very happy to have your questions about anything I've been talking about, or any other health subjects, or about our courses, if you're interested in those. It'd be nice to hear from you. So a little bit about our courses here at the center, the Macro School. We're running short courses, short cooking courses, health courses, 1 to 5 day, to really help people with their own health. We'll also do some online cooking classes, and I run a six steps to health course regularly through the year, 6 evenings, looking at 6 different systems in the body, how to heal, how to look after and heal those 6 different systems. We're going to be starting I think in August, we're going to be having a weekly kind of information, recipes, some health information, which you could tune into. And our main focus is on a 3-year course, 3-year part-time course. First year, foundation year, about 30 days, spread over 9-10 months, mostly in 4-day modules. And you're coming, and in the morning we're doing Darwin exercises. We're learning Oriental medicine, Oriental diagnosis, emotional healing, lots of hands-on cooking classes. I should have sat in our teaching kitchen. We have a really nice teaching kitchen, 10 individual workstations. So you're learning a lot about these basics of health, and a lot of people really experience deep changes in their own physical, emotional health during that year. So that is like a foundation more for people's own use. Then we have a second year course, which also 31 days here. Really going more into training, all the same subjects, really building people's confidence in helping other people with detailed dietary recommendations, exercises, some basic emotional healing, life guidance, etc. And people come out of that as a really well-trained and confident health coach and cook. And some people go into teaching cooking classes, doing cooking tutoring. Some people have opened their own cooking schools. Very enjoyable to teach people cooking. And also giving well-being shiatsu, which is a form of body work to promote health. And then for those who really want to go in depth, we have a third year course, a little bit longer, where we're really looking at using food as medicine in the cooking classes, and really understanding a wide range of different health problems, arthritis, heart problems, heart palpitations, migraines, ovarian cysts, whatever, and how we can guide people in healing those kind of problems with this holistic approach. Because really useful food, exercise, reflecting on emotions, reflecting on life patterns, what in one's life is contributing to a particular problem, etc. So really learning to help people deeply on that third year course. The first year, the foundation year, we've also started doing, the next residential one starts in October. The next, we also started doing one that is 2/3 online, which is going to be from February until July. And then we end up with an intensive here at school in August, because a lot of what we're learning is very, very practical, especially the cooking. So it's good to do some practical work as well, but that suits people who find it difficult to travel because you're a long way away, or you have family commitments or whatever. So there's that option as well. We have small groups. We really give people a lot of personal guidance, and we're really interested in individuals and helping individuals grow and learn and become really confident in using all this information. So that's a little bit about our courses. If you have more questions, then you can ask in a minute. So I'm going to hand over to Charlene now, who's going to say a little bit about her experience of studying on this longer training course.
Thank you, Oliver. So I discovered the Macrobiotic school. I can't remember how. I think I was just very lucky to come across it online. And I went along and I did the 5-day looking after your health course. And from that moment, it literally blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is so profound. Like, the food was delicious, and everything that I learned on that 5-day course was like, whoa. I almost felt like someone gave me a pair of glasses that suddenly it was like seeing the truth. And that was just in the 5 days. And I was like, I want more of this. So I signed up for the first year course, and I went all through and I did the 3-year course. And I mean, just the first year course was absolutely life-changing for me. And, since then, this was 15 years ago almost 15 years ago when I signed up. And it's just been so transformational. That first year, I think so much changed and shifted for me on a personal, energetic, emotional level. And then all the tools that I've learned have just been so amazing. I feel so blessed to have discovered this. And it kind of gives me this reassurance that no matter what happens in life, I now feel so empowered that I have all of these tools, all of this wisdom and knowledge that I learned during my time at the school that I can access and apply to myself and my family. And I even actually met my husband because of our mutual interest in macrobiotics. I went on to have 2 healthy natural pregnancies and births. Yeah, so I think it's been so incredible for me, just the knowledge and everything that I've learned and the journey that I've been on and the journey that still continues today. So that was like personally, but then also learning these skills to be able to help others as well. That has just really fed me on so many levels too. So not only is there that personal transformation that I got, but then learning everything to be able to help others as well. It's like, oh, this is so good. And it just inspires me so much because I can see in all of the work that I've done since then, it helps to inform that. So I'm a coach, I do women's circles, and everything that I've learned in macrobiotics, I use that on some level in all of the other work that I do as well. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of macrobiotics, of the Macrobiotic school. Yeah, really beautiful experience. And I'm so grateful and so blessed that something guided me to the school. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Charlene. That's nice to hear. I haven't heard that before, so that's interesting for me to hear as well. Thank you for some of you who are putting in some questions. And there's one kind of technical one, which maybe you can answer, Charlene. Someone is asking, can I access the recorded video?
Yes, so I think we'll get the recording sent out to everyone after this, yeah.
Okay, great. And there'll probably be, we have a YouTube channel, which we're gradually building. So will it go on the YouTube channel as well, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good place to put it, but we'll send it out an email as well.
Yeah, okay, great. So I see that some of you have typed in some questions. So I might start off by answering those. And then if you have some questions, very happy for you to put up your hand. And Chris Key, I've just noticed you. It's good to see you again. Sylvia is asking, is it bad to use a pressure cooker and a microwave? Pressure cookers, I think, are really fine to use. They make food a little heavier. They can cook certain foods more quickly, like beans. And that the effect of the pressure kind of you could say kind of pushes more energy into the food. So for people who are kind of cold or devitalized, pressure cooking some food can be very useful. Traditionally in Japan, they used to pressure cook their grains in the winter, not in the summer, because in the winter they needed more strength. Microwaves, I don't think are so good because they're using a very unnatural form of heating. That's why it can be so quick. And it's actually breaking up the molecules, especially the protein molecules, in a different way to normal heat. So I don't think so good to use on a regular basis. Adele, you're asking dark circles around the eyes. Do I have a few key tips to help balance the kidneys and adrenals and reduce dark circles? I'm just wondering if I can't see you at the moment, Adele. Edel. It depends a little bit what the cause is, but things which positively help the kidneys and adrenal glands is, well, at first I should say in Oriental medicine, they're the source. The organs are seen as having much wider range of functions than just the physical functions, which we understand from science. So they have kind of energetic functions and more wider body functions. So the kidneys and adrenal glands are seen as supplying, as being the fundamental batteries in the body, supplying the fundamental energy in the body. So the first thing is we need to look after our fundamental energy. If we overwork or lack sleep, or we're under a lot of stress, or if we're having a lot of stimulants in the form of caffeine, sugar, alcohol, or recreational drugs, they sound good. Sounds good to have a stimulant because it's going to stimulate our energy. But if we're using them on a regular basis, actually what they're doing is stimulating the energy to come from the kidneys up into the body, into the brain. So we feel that burst of energy, but long term, what they're doing is draining our energy. So if we have those dark circles, we want to manage our energy. Maybe we need more rest. If we're feeling tired, have a siesta, get to bed earlier, see if we can reduce stress, definitely giving up stimulants. And foods which positively help are mineral-rich foods, especially broth soups, like a miso soup, a shoyu broth, a herb salt broth soup, long-cooked beans, bean stews, fish, like a fish soup, very strengthening for the kidneys, and our kind of our energy store. Yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell. So can't quite see who it is. Someone's saying the abdominal breathing made you dizzy. Is this okay? Yeah, it's okay. You can just make it a little, just breathe a little bit slower and keep going. If you do it for a while, all kinds of things can happen that may surprise you. Because we hold a lot of tension in our abdomens, when we breathe abdominally, sometimes a lot of heat comes up, a lot of energy comes up, sometimes certain emotions come up. And so you may feel kind of weird things happening, or sometimes a lot of energy comes up through the head, and then we feel some dizziness. Yeah, just keep breathing. If you're worried, just breathe a little bit slower. Yeah. So grooves, so Charlotte, you're wondering what grooves on the side of the tongue indicate. Well, in Oriental medicine, they say that when we put our tongue out, if we have little tooth marks in the side of our mouth, that's because the tongue has become a little swollen, and because our spleen, pancreas energy is not working well. Those organs which are to do with nourishing the body. There's an imbalance there. Bit of a big subject to say why that might be and what you could do, but it's indicating that particular imbalance. Okay, and then there's one from Yolanda. Yolanda says, if you want to read these comments, if you click on chat at the bottom, you can read them. Yolanda says, I followed a strict macrobiotic diet religiously for 2 years, more than 20 years ago, and attribute it to healing my liver and lung cancer. I followed it loosely since. Recently, I received a macrobiotic recipe book from the States, but noticed a lot of food has been introduced that weren't there before. Has the diet changed over the last years? In some ways it has, Yolanda. I think maybe 20 years ago, there was a lot of focus on healing diets, including healing heart disease and cancer and diabetes. And when we're wanting to heal some more serious illness, often we need to eat in a much more kind of focused way and exclude, more foods, still with a good range of foods. But we need to eat, you might say in a more narrow, what appears to be a more narrow way. What's been realized since then is that you can't do that forever, because it becomes too narrow, and then we can start lacking variety and nourishment in our diet. So for everyday health, we need a wider variety of ingredients and a wider variety of cooking styles. We may drink a little alcohol and use more oil, and just, so it's gone a bit wider. So if you feel that you're in good health, then Yep, you could go for that kind of slightly wider way of eating. And then someone has said, you mentioned quality of voice. Sometimes I struggle to project my voice. You do have an underactive thyroid. In Oriental medicine, the volume of the voice is seen as coming from the liver. The liver is not only producing nutrients around the body, it's also a lot to do with expressing our energy outwards in our voice, expressing our emotions, expressing our ideas, and so on. So if the liver energy is somewhat low or suppressed or blocked, then the voice may be quieter. If people hold a lot of tension in the liver, then people can have what in Oriental medicine they call a shouting voice, where a person is shouting the whole time and they don't realize that they're shouting, but when you're listening to them on a phone, you want to hold the phone a long way away because it's just unpleasant because they're shouting all the time. So if someone has a shouting voice, you know they have a liver imbalance one way, and if they have a very quiet voice, they have a liver imbalance another way. And also it's interesting what you say about your thyroid, because in Oriental medicine, one of the causes of the thyroid becoming underactive is when there's not enough liver and other energies flowing through the neck and activating the thyroid gland. So healing the liver can also help heal an underactive thyroid. Often it takes time. It's not a quick thing to heal, but I've seen people heal underactive thyroid through, including through working out what's happening with their liver and how to release their liver energy. And another question about coffee. How many cups of coffee do you advise per day? Well, I would say 0. Just have one occasionally when you enjoy it. If you're young and in strong health, you can we have a bit more license to drink coffee and have stimulants and things. But, as we mature, our life energy is gradually declining. So less stimulants are good. So, yeah, so not much. I think also it's very useful to think about daily food, which we're using to build our health, and occasional food when we go and eat in a restaurant, we go and eat with friends. Where we may eat more widely. So I enjoy eating out. Generally, I'm not eating meat and sugar. I rarely eat dairy. I might have a little bit of butter occasionally, or something cooked in butter. So it's fun to go out, and I might have a coffee at the end. I've eaten more yang food, and then I have a bit more yin food. So I think that's another balance to make. We're eating real health strengthening food every day, and then if our health is good and strong, then we can go out and eat more widely sometimes. Okay, I wonder, does anybody have any questions about the courses we're running here? It seems like the easiest way for you to ask questions is to click on the chat button and then type in your question. I'm quite happy for you to unmute and also ask me in person. So a couple of you asked about recipes for family cooking. Yeah, we teach quite a lot about family cooking. We actually teach how to make your own baby food, what to feed toddlers on, what to feed children. Unfortunately, we don't have a particular book that we could give you. Kids often are very happy eating whole foods, but they like slightly different ones. Rather than brown rice or millet, they often like pasta and noodles. They often like finger foods. They like vegetables they can pick up and eat. They may well not like salads. They may like more kind of sweet, creamy vegetables, for example. If you wanted to, if you wanted to email the school, then next week, people working here we could maybe dig out some recipes for you, Sharon. Any other questions? So from Nina. Unfortunately, we're not running courses in August. We tend to have a little bit of a break, and we're running this year's 10-day intensive for the online foundation course. But we're starting beginning of September with some online and some residential courses here. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, hi, Nina. I've seen your picture now. Any other questions? Okay, well, if you're interested in, if we can be of help at the school, do email us, info@macroschool.co.uk, or if you're interested in more personal health advice or knowing more in depth about the training course, very happy for you to email me, oliver@macroschool.co.uk. Thank you, Charlene, for putting those in. We're always happy to help. And I just see one more question. What do I think about frozen food? I'd say a bit like coffee. Okay, sometimes, but not all the time. Let's see what else. Okay, I think that's it for questions. Okay, well, I really want to thank you for joining us tonight, and it's really good to see you all and have you with us. And it'd be really nice to see you again sometime. So if you feel like checking in at any time on courses online or in-person courses, or if I can be of any help, then please do ask. And I wish you all well. And I'm just sorry. I just say one more little thing. I never mentioned COVID. How could I get through the whole thing without mentioning COVID? Never has there been a better time for learning to look after your health. Right now, it's a bit of a mystery in Western medicine as to why some people with no outward symptoms catch COVID and get it seriously or die, and other people get it mildly or no symptoms at all. So that's a mystery in Western medicine. From an Oriental medicine, it's pretty clear that people who've been, who have been looking after their health, eating a plant-based diet, exercising, etc., and with Oriental diagnosis, you can see the signs. There's a good balance in the body. When we're in good health, we also have a good immune system. So vaccines and other things are really helping on a wide scale, but variants may come along. People say that COVID's probably going to be around for years. It's going to become like flu. So in many ways, the best thing one can do is to really look after one's health, get one's health stronger and stronger, ride the bike, make balance. And then you can feel as your health gets stronger, over months and years, then your immune system is going to get becoming stronger. And the dangers get less and less. So really, never has there been a better time to make healthy changes. Okay, so finishing on that note, thank you for all the people who said thank you. Yeah, I love talking about all these things. So I'm also going to start, if you use Facebook, we have a Facebook page. I'm going to start, I think this Friday and then on Wednesdays in August, in July, August and onwards, I'm going to start doing a free weekly presentation as well. So you could look out for that as well. Okay, thank you all very much, and go well, look after yourselves well, and